Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin and welcome back to another Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to aim better and have better accuracy in Cold War multiplayer. We're going to be talking about everything from settings that you can customize to make sure your aiming is the most efficient, to attachments on your weapons that can actually help you have better aim, and to actual in-game gameplay mechanics, things you can practice and focus on when you're in the game to make yourself have better accuracy. I hope you guys will enjoy tonight's video. If you guys could smack a like on this thing, that would be absolutely incredible. Let's go ahead and go for 402 likes. If we could hit that, that would be absolutely amazing. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and not already subscribed, and be sure to hit that notification bell as well, as I've been uploading a lot of Cold War content and we're going to continue to do so here. I'm going to be covering best class setups, I'm going to be covering tips and tricks, I'm going to be covering news and updates, and a lot more stuff about Cold War multiplayer. So drop that like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's go ahead and get right into it. So we'll start off with the settings, because settings are the most obvious thing, where most of the time players that have really bad aim, you can just watch them for like a couple minutes and understand, just see if you're someone that's experienced at Call of Duty, oh, they might have some wrong settings, that changing those could really help them. So first of all is sensitivity, and that is the most obvious one. Now sensitivity goes between 0 and 14 in this game, and what I say is usually in a boots on the ground game like this, most people are going to be between a 4 and an 8 sensitivity on this game. You will have people that do like to play with a super duper sensitive thumbstick, or people that play with super non-sensitive thumbstick, but typically players are going to fall between 4 and 8. Myself, I'm on a 6, and that is for horizontal and vertical. Now, I've always kept the horizontal and vertical the same. However, if you do want to customize one, you're going to be changing your horizontal, which is side to side. Vertical is up and down. If you do want to have one higher than the other, I would suggest having the horizontal one higher, because that's what you're going to need to be a little bit quicker for snapping on targets. Other than vertical, having that one too high can really just cause you to miss shots completely, and usually if you are going to up one more than the other, that's what I would say. But me personally, with sensitivity, I run 6.6. I'm usually somewhere around the middle sensitivities on most Call of Duty games, and since this one is 0 to 14, I'm right at that 6 slot, so one below, I guess you could say 7 would be the right in the middle, but I'm on a 6.6, and that's what I like as far as sensitivity. Now, a lot of players they think sensitivity is something that you should brag about. Oh, I only play on a 2 sensitivity or 1 sensitivity, or on the other end, people say, I play on a 14 sensitivity, I'm the best. In all reality, if you have that mindset, it's really dumb. You should pick the sensitivity that fits you the best, and the way to find a sensitivity, if you don't know, if maybe you're new to Call of Duty, or maybe you want to test out different sensitivities, go into a custom game and start off with like a 10 sensitivity. Let's say start off with a 9 or 10 reasonably, and then move it down, play for like a minute or two shooting around, and you're going to notice most likely that's going to feel very high. Move it down one, and keep doing that sort of testing until you find somewhere where you're comfortable. As soon as you're comfortable, that's the setting that you're going to want to be on. And if if I move up to, let's say I'm comfortable on a 6, if I'm playing on a 7 or 8 and I'm a little bit uncomfortable, there's no point to have that little bit of uncomfortability for a little bit quicker of a snap on target. You want to go to where you're comfortable and not going to miss shots in a game like this, and that's where, me personally, I'm on a 6.6, but everyone is going to be different. Now, next thing that you're going to want to mess with on that is actually the ADS slowdown. So there are some settings here where you can slow down, and there's 2 settings. One is for over a 4 times magnification, which is for snipers and obviously those super duper insanely scoped in scopes, but the one above that setting is what you're going to want to focus on for your ADS slowdown. Now, me personally, I just have mine as 6.6 as normal sensitivities, and then I just have it as a normal 1. But what the ADS slowdown does is when you're aiming down sights, because you want to have a fairly quick sensitivity, I guess you could say, or a decent sensitivity for when you're looking around and moving around the map. But when you aim down sights and you're trying to shoot people, especially if you're playing on maps or game modes where you're shooting targets at very long range, you're going to want to move that down possibly. But one thing you have to know, and you can check out my best settings video where I talked a little bit more in depth about this, is that it goes off of what your values are. So because I run a 6.6, I can run just a straight up 1. I don't even have to go down to a 0.9 or a 0.8, and I feel fairly comfortable on that. However, if you're someone that runs a 12 sensitivity, most likely, the majority of those players are not going to play on a 1. They're going to want to slow down their sensitivity so that it could feel like a 12, but then if they have it, at a 0.6 or a 0.7, when they're actually aiming down sights, it feels more like a 7 or an 8 or something where they're more comfortable on. So that is one of the most important settings to look at, not just your normal sensitivities, but that slowdown sensitivity option right below that. Another setting I have is going to be button layout. Personally, I use a tactical button layout, which allows me to crouch by using the right thumbstick, just pressing in the right thumbstick, which this is very helpful because then you don't have to leave your thumb off to hit the B or the circle button to crouch down. You just hit that right there, and it also works with the prone, even though drop shotting isn't as strong in this game. So that's very important because when you're aiming and crouching, you don't have to take your thumb off of the aim button, which taking your thumb off the right thumbstick is always dangerous. So if you can keep it on there as long as possible, it allows you to, be able to just have the most control over your aim because you have your thumb on the stick ready to go all the time. So that's what I would say as far as that. A few other settings that you could mess with are the dead zones, which I have mine on 5 to 99. The default is 10 to 99, but a lot of the pro players and just a lot of what everyone's talking about in the community, the tryhards and the pro players, are saying to use that on a 5 to 99, which just helps with making your movements, I guess, a little more precise, or it depends on what dead zone you like. Personally, I don't really put too much thought into those, and I just rock with, okay, that's what everyone says is the best. I'm going to rock with that. I don't really have too much. I'm in the mentality with that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I've never really had problems with that. So $5.99, I'm going to stick with that. Just what most people are using from what I've seen the talks around the community. Next is with the mini-map color changes. Now, this is a little bit deeper in the settings, but you can actually change the colors of your enemies and teammates and all that stuff on the mini-map. But the bonus thing is it doesn't just change that on the map. It changes when you're looking at them with their nameplate and their health bar. So I have my enemies on like a bright pink, which is kind of shocking, or takes a while to get used to, but it really helps to spot enemies, especially in a game like this where the players' bodies really blend in with a lot of the maps. Seeing that bright name tag, okay, he's right there, I'm going to shoot right there, can be very, very helpful. And that's what I would say as far as settings. The last setting I would say is FOV and the field of view options. Now, FOV, personally, now that it's come to console, I like to run that on 110, just allows me to see more of the map. You can move that up to, the max is 120, I believe. 110 is where I feel comfortable, so I'm there for now. Maybe later in the game's life cycle, I'll up it to 120, but, it takes some adjusting, so I'm at 110, and that's what I was using the beta as well. And then what you have is your ADS field of view options, which you either have independent or affected. And independent means when you aim down sights, depending on, it doesn't depend on what your field of view is. It aims it down to more of an intended value. But if you have affected, it does depend what your FOV is, and it aims to a value closer to your FOV setting. So this is an important setting for helping with your aim, I would say. Basically, to put it in simple terms, with independent, you're going to be zooming in a little bit more if you have, or that's what it's going to visually appear if you have a higher FOV. So it's going to look like your targets are a little bit bigger, but with affected, it's going to look like you have less recoil when you're zooming in and shooting. So it's just a personal preference there on the visual. Definitely that's one that I think is up for debate. Personally, right now, I believe, yeah, I'm on affected, but you can, mess around with both of those, and I'm liking the 110 affected as of right now, but if I have to switch that later in the life cycle, I would have no problems doing that. Next, let's go over some attachments real quick. You have some muzzle flash options, which I think are very, very helpful and useful, especially because you get 5 attachments in this game, and usually the muzzle is one that you unlock fairly early on those guns. So, rocking stuff that gives you like 90% muzzle flash concealment can help you with your aim. You also have attachments that help with the horizontal and vertical recoil. The thing I would recommend here is always remember the ones that are on most guns, every gun has a different recoil pattern, of course, but on most guns, vertical recoil is going to be usually more of a problem than horizontal. So just remember that, but it all depends on your gun, and all the guns in this game have, I guess what you could call like a predictable or predictive recoil patterns, I think it's called. So if you go into custom games and test out your favorite gun's recoil patterns, you can really see, okay, that attachment does help me, that brings down the horizontal recoil. Or you can say, well, this gun, all the recoil that's bothering me and making me miss shots, it's all vertical, so I don't really care if I get a plus 15% less, or whatever it's called on the horizontal recoil. It doesn't really help me too much. That's something that I would say there. As far as other attachments, you have body attachments, which reveal enemy data at longer engagement distances, which can be helpful for those long-range fights. Typically, in these multiplayer maps, you're not getting into those super-duper long-range fights, at least in 6v6, but on some of the bigger game modes, I think that can be useful, as well as ADS walking move speed is very, very important to your aim, which is basically stock, and what it does is it allows you to, when you're aiming down sights, you can strafe left to right a little bit quicker, and it helps with your aim. It helps with a couple things. It helps with, obviously, strafing, makes the enemy miss more shots, and also strafing if you're aiming with both of your thumbsticks, which traditionally people think you should just be aiming with the right thumbstick, which, yeah, most of your aiming is done by that, but the left thumbstick in gunfights in this game, where it's going to be jump shotting and not drop shotting, jump shotting and strafing, can be very, very important. So that's what I'd say as far as attachments to focus on. Now, as far as actual in-game tips, what are some stuff that once you have the best settings, the best attachments, what can you focus on actually in the game? And the most obvious thing is going to be centering. Now, centering is basically having your crosshairs, because when you aim down sight, it goes right into the middle of your crosshairs. So you want to have that at center, or centering means you want to have that where you're going to suspect an enemy is, or where an enemy is going to appear. So in Call of Duty, it's not like a lot of shooter games where you want to aim for the head all the time. Call of Duty is not like that. You usually want to just aim for center mass. People die so quickly. Headshot multipliers are not that crazy on the, you know, the majority of different weapons. You just spray them in the body and you're just going to be able to kill them. So you want to center on usually keeping that around center mass. However, the maps in this game are what I call a head glitch city. So this comes with knowing where to aim. Call of Duty is a twitch shooter where usually the person that shoots first and hits the first shot is going to win the far majority of gunfights, right? So centering, like I said, center it on center mass pretty much often. But if you know, once you play this game more and more and you learn the common rush routes, you learn what's going to, where people are going to be posted up. When I come around this corner and I know, hey, 20% of the time there's a guy posted up on that box, I'm not going to have my character aiming just at the center of the screen just to shoot a guy right in the middle of the body if he comes around the corner. I'm going to be ready, aimed down, or not. Even if I'm not aimed down, I'm going to have it centered to right on top of that box. So if someone does happen to appear, boom, I can aim down quickly if I'm not already aimed down and take them out. So that's very, very important. Most of the time, centering in Call of Duty is very simple, but in a game like this where it's Head Glitch City, it does take some practice to know where you think enemies are going to pop out, have it centered, and be ready to aim down and take out people. The most obvious thing to help you with, obviously this takes some time to learn routes and learn stuff because you have to learn the game modes, learn the spawns, learn where enemies are going to come out. However, in this game, and usually in Black Ops games, the footsteps aren't as loud, I guess you could say, traditionally as Infinity Ward games are. But in this game, the footsteps are very, very important. You can hear almost everyone moving around, especially when they're close to you, and that's how footsteps work, obviously. But until people unlock Ninja, which I think is unlocked like in the late level 30s or something like that, you can pretty much hear everything. So listening for footsteps is obviously, if you knowing where to aim, aiming better, it's great if you can just have better aim, but that takes practice. That takes a lot of time, and that takes putting in work. If you can use your headset to know where an enemy's going to be, it's going to look like you're an absolute beast aimer because you knew where they were coming from before they knew where you were. And that's why, listening, pre-aiming, and even pre-spraying is super duper important. If you hear a guy coming around that corner, you can time him. He's about to come around right now. Don't be afraid to pull that trigger 1 second earlier than, not 1 second, but a millisecond earlier than you actually see that enemy, because it's so obvious that he's going to be there because of that footsteps, and other people will be like, what? Is this guy hacking? Is this guy hacking? But no, you're just playing the game smart. You're pre-aiming and even pre-spraying. In a game like this where people die so quick, like I said, it's a twitch shooter. Whoever gets that first shot is going to win the majority of gunfights. So even if you have to spray and miss 10 shots, but that 11th shot hits them and then they come around the corner and by 15 bullets out of your magazine, they're dead, that is a very, very important thing to do. So that's what I would say as far as a couple tips into learning the routes, learning the maps, learning where to center mass. Now, as far as the other aspect of that, which is learning the weapons, the guns have predictive recoil patterns in this game. And that's why it is important where if you find guns that you like, most guns have a pretty standard recoil pattern. It's, vertical. Typically, guns just go vertically and then they have a little bit of variation to their recoil pattern. But the number one tip I've always suggested in different Call of Duty games, and it's the same in this game, is a lot of players, casual players, they'll just pull the trigger and wait till the enemy dies. But smart players will pull that trigger, be aiming with both their sticks, strafing left and right with the left one, aiming with that right thumbstick, but also at the same time you're aiming, and this takes a lot of practice, and this is something you could practice in a custom game or just as you're playing. As the same time you're aiming, this is something you get good at when you use high recoil guns, which in this game, most of the guns aren't really too high recoil, and you do end up killing them really, really fast before that, the late magazine recoil kicks in usually. You usually have a chance to reset it for a second kill, or, the enemy's dead by that time. But pulling down on that right thumbstick, it sounds like it's very, very simple, but it's something that experienced Call of Duty players just do naturally. And that's why if you're watching someone that's really good at the game, you'll be like, how come his gun has no recoil, when a casual player will just pull the trigger, hold it down, and his recoil will shoot to the sky. Pulling down against the recoil is always key. And because of the predictive recoil patterns in this game, you can take your favorite weapon, your favorite class, go into a custom game, spray at a wall a couple times, and learn that recoil pattern, and then understand, okay, on this gun I just pull straight down a tiny bit, or on this gun I have to pull down and to the left a little bit. That's more intense stuff. And in a game like Call of Duty, it's more a casual twitch shooter. Most people don't take it that seriously, but if you really are, in love with one weapon or one class setup and you want to max out your aim and have the best possible aim with that, it's stuff that's worth your time. Even if it takes you 20 minutes in a private match, that's nothing compared to if you're going to use that weapon for this year's whole life cycle and really, really enjoy it. Next is with letting recoil reset. If you're shooting at, I don't recommend this at all at close, medium, even at somewhat long ranges. You usually just want to hold it down and try to pull against that recoil. But if you're having really trouble with that and the enemy is at a very long range, what you can do is if you're shooting, say you've shot off 13, 14 bullets, stop for a split second, let that recoil reset. It does only take a split second. Usually it all depends on, you know, what you're rocking, what gun, how far away the gunfight is, how far you are into the magazine. You know, there's all these variables, but letting that recoil reset for a split second and then pulling the trigger again, that can help if you're trying to shoot someone. Let's say you have like a, you know, an SMG and you're trying to shoot someone across the map, which I never recommend in this game. If they're looking at you, you don't want to do that unless you know they have a shotgun or an SMG, so they can't really destroy you. But you know, of course, when players are looking the other way and you have an SMG and you see them across the map, it's very tempting to take that shot, and you should take that shot if they aren't looking your way and you're in a safe position. And that's one thing that you can let the recoil reset but be cautious about that, because in the far majority of gunfights, you do not want to do that. When you pull that trigger, you do not want to let go of that trigger until the enemy is dead. This is just for very niche long range gunfights. That's more of something that will come into play in Warzone or stuff like that. So hopefully these tips did help you guys out with settings, with attachments, and with actual gameplay stuff as far as the maps, knowing where to aim, and then your guns, knowing what to do with that gun and how to counter the recoil and aim better. I think this video I did go over quite a bit of stuff, and hopefully this will be helpful for most people. If you guys did enjoy, smack that like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and not already subscribed, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Peace.